We previously explored how Anvil's many systems work in concert to shape a best-in-class dynamic open world. From simulation to rendering, each tool plays a part in sustaining immersion at scale. To fully realize Assassin's Creed Shadows' vision, we now dive into another essential facet of Anvil's capabilities. One that affects the level of detail, or LOD, shown on 3D objects.
It's all about quality from close range to seamless transition in long range.
Before, you could be distracted by LOD pop, and now that's not the case anymore.
So how did we do it? How did we build a historically grounded open world that preserves a sense of journey without cutting back on the level of visual details and immersion?
Our vision is to deliver less and less friction to the artist on the floor, and for this is what I would call no grunt work. It's like you don't have to build LODs by yourself, they are automatically built. The gains are so big in terms of details and what you can represent in the world that it's the future. It's already the present, actually.
A vision that we will illustrate with this house. One of the many objects within which lies the secret to the evergreen visual details of the game world they inhabit. Micropolygon Geometry. The 3D objects you see and interact with in a game world are created from polygons, connected with each other to form a mesh over which textures and materials are applied. So, as a rule of thumb, more triangles means more visual detail.
In the past, for example, when you were doing rock, it was like 20K triangle, 40K triangle. Today we can do 400K, 2 million, 4 million triangle. The main purpose of micropolygon hierarchy, micropoly, is to remove the limit of triangle.
That's fine when dealing with a closed map featuring only a handful of houses, but what about dealing with a massive dynamic open world?
Micropoly features works with a concept of automatic occlusion that allows both dense area and more vast landscape to render efficiently. It simplifies the work of artists. They basically don't have to bother anymore about LOD generation.
Thanks to micropolygon geometry, the concept of level of detail essentially becomes a thing of the past. Triangles from which 3D objects are created are constantly adapting to what is visible to you. Depending on distance from said object, the house in our example, Anvil streams only what's necessary, managing resources efficiently and staging the most immersive open world possible around the player character.
Using micropolygon, there is no more LOD. We have still LOD switch in very far distance, like near-fakes and far-fakes. We are able to cross-dissolve between them to hide any popping. And it's also here to give the ability for an artist to not have to think about the number of material you have to put on the mesh or the number of triangle you will use. Something we were doing by texture before, today we are doing with real geometry. It removes limitation from the content creators.
A dynamic and expertly crafted open world whose visual fidelity adapts in real time relatively to your position and the movement of your camera. That is the perfect recipe for an utterly immersive video game experience. Perfect for gameplay, yes, but not necessarily adapted to in-game cutscenes where camera work differs drastically.
In general, in a normal gameplay scenario, the camera is transitioning smoothly, but during a camera cut, the transition is too sharp, so we have to load in advance what will be visible in the next second. I think it's a kind of feature eventually that the player doesn't notice. But it's like a lot of things in games or in software development that if you don't notice something bad, it's actually good.
In the end, the team's ambitions for Assassin's Creed Shadows had them revisit their approach to how they should create a breathtaking dynamic game world. It was less about putting as many visually impressive models as possible all at once than it was about working smart by only showing to the player what needed to be shown.
We are very happy with what we delivered because if we consider the time it takes to develop such features, like it's multiple years of development, and we feel like we reached the level of quality, visual quality that we wanted in the game.
Micropolygon Geometry is the perfect feature to cement Anvil as an open-world video game powerhouse, and to give the developers the means to achieve their ambitions.